Good afternoon. In Chapter 8, we're going to talk about different types of sport products. How do sport organizations develop products, create new products in order to spur new business and create new revenue streams? So we're looking at the idea of how do new products, why are they necessary to keep up with changing consumer trends, lifestyle, and tastes, and why do we drop unsuccessful products? Mainly it's an allocation of resources. If we know that a product isn't being successful, we want to make sure that we can apply our financial resources and our human resources in a manner that will be best productive for our organization, either monetarily or efficiently or developing new ideas through research and development. For companies to be successful, you have to be perceived as offering something of value to society and to members specifically individually. If we want to create a product that has interest and ability and income potential, then we need to make sure that the consumers are recognizing that there's a value to this exchange proposition. Adrian Slywatsky has a really interesting book called Demand. And in this book, he discusses how some products click and they are successful, whereas other products aren't. In fact, when you look at the idea of many products, certainly in the technology field, you see some that are creative and new, but when you research it, really they've been introduced by other companies previously and they just didn't seem to catch on, much like the iWatch, developed by Google almost 10, 15 years ago, just didn't have the right timing for it, didn't have the right backstory or content. So Slotsky looks at 6 different hints that he has, or 6 different things that need to be a part of creating a demand, creating an environment where your product is going to be successful. First, he says make it magnetic. This idea that the product itself has to be irresistible, that great functionality connects to great emotional, that people not only need the product, but they need this brand of the product. Second one, fix the hassle map. We looked at this in terms of our sportscape idea where we want to look at the product and find out all these different places where somebody may have problems with it, either getting it via distribution or not working right or having little hiccups along the way, and then figuring out what those hassles are and fixing them. For example, in the early days of Netflix, the researchers found a lot of great positive relationship with Netflix and sending the DVDs back and transferring it that way. But then there are some areas that the consumer response was very low. And they researched and found out that the areas that are around the distribution centers had a very positive experience because people were able to get DVDs a lot quicker than other places. The time to return and the time back out wasn't that dramatic. So Netflix had to create more distribution centers. This backstory, number 3, this idea that we want to make the consumer experience as pleasant and as complete and as satisfying as possible. Exactly what we do in sport. We want to make sure that everyone's experience is at such a high level that people now are able to recognize the fact that this product generates certain benefits for them. We want to find the triggers. We want to find out what makes somebody buy. We want to go beyond that intent to purchase to actual purchase. Is it some sort of incentive? Is it a promotion? Is it a distribution point? What do we do to create interest in a product to purchase the product? We want to build a steep trajectory, meaning that we want to make sure that our product is the one that people will buy next generation and the generation after that, meaning technology creates new and improved products so quickly, we want to enter the marketplace and we also want to grow very quickly after the first release. And we want to look at this idea of de-average, as Slotsky says, meaning we want to look at as many different target audiences as possible. If we look at a stadium, we know that 50,000 people in the stadium are looking for different benefits, whether they're season ticket holders or people in the heavy users or non-consumers or indirect consumers. They all have different wants and needs and must be treated differently. We must de-average that consumer. Why do products fail? Well, for one reason, from a consumer point of view, the technology didn't work. It didn't do what I wanted it to. Now we can talk about how many times this is the consumer's fault as well, that maybe the machine or product or whatever we're talking about delivers the benefits. However, if I don't know how to use it correctly, I blame the product. The management team didn't work. Organizationally, it didn't grow right. The company had difficult financial aspects. It didn't grow. It didn't develop. Something was wrong internally. Or there was no demand for the product. It may have been too early or too late in the life cycle. We need to find out what the fatal flaw is and move backwards. We want to solve this issue, especially when we're entering into a very similar business. For example, we want to create and build a sport bar, and we're going to put it right on the site of where a sport bar existed and failed. What are we going to do differently? We need to analyze the reasons why that failed, solve that issue before we can proceed on our own. We create new products from an organizational perspective. These could be new to the world products, whether they're brand new inventions, creating wireless ballparks to create a statistical analysis or allow us to order food or tickets through some sort of app program. How can we utilize existing technology? One thing that we can look at in terms of sport, we don't have to create a lot of this new technology. We need to find where the technology exists and just apply it to sport in a new way. We can look at new product categories. We can look at products that are already existing but new to our organization. Maybe we get a new product line involved to our marketing mix. New Balance, in order to increase its portfolio, bought Brine, which brought in soccer, lacrosse, field hockey, volleyball. Nike acquired Bauer for their hockey equipment. Where we're looking at products and brands that already exist, we're now buying them or utilizing them at a different level for our group. We can create new product line extensions. ESPN has done this tremendously, from ESPN to ESPN2 to ESPN Deportes and ESPNU and ESPN News and ESPN Classic. All these different ideas of ESPN's really generated the idea. In fact, when ESPN2 first started, it was very different than ESPN. It was a much younger generation, a little hipper. The sport was very different. Now we look at ESPN and ESPN2 as very homogeneous channels where they really are very similar. We can look at new product improvements. We're taking or modifying the product and making it improved. Certainly stadium renovations fit into this area, or product innovations using a maple bat, or running shoes have new technology each year. And we also want to look at the idea of repositioning our brand. We looked at this when we talked about STP, the segmenting, targeting, position idea, that we reposition in the minds of our consumers to really show them that we have a new product, or at least the perception of a new product. From a consumer perspective, we look at these new products and we can look at them through a continuous innovation aspect. If there's a minor change to a product, it's considered a continuous innovation. If it doesn't disrupt the way that I consume the sport, it's a continuous innovation. Adding an expansion team to a sports league, as long as I'm not in that market, I consume the same way. I go to the facility, go to my stadium, they're playing another team. So it's very minimal of a disruption to me. They're still on TV the same time. So even though the new league has more teams and different teams, it doesn't impact me. When new products change or improve, but they don't change the usage pattern, it's a diametrically continuous innovation. New golf clubs, new shot clock. Again, it's nothing. It doesn't change my consumption. Whereas a discontinuous innovation is new. Maybe I'm in one of those brand new markets like the NHL when they moved to the South, and it is a brand new experience for me. That's considered a discontinuous innovation. So mainly the big difference between these two, we can look at, discount where it slides in a little bit. Continuous versus discontinuous. If it changes my consumption pattern, it's discontinuous. From a sport marketer perspective, I have to realize if an innovation is discontinuous, that means I need to be able to educate the consumer and help them into a new consumption pattern. If it's a continuous innovation, the consumer can still find the product and consume it the same way. We look at generating new products through an idea generation. This can come from any number of people. We can have an R&D area. We can do salespeople as they're talking to our clients and consumers. What do they want? We can look at our competitors and what areas they're getting into. We can then screen it. Is this idea something that fits with our organization, our mission, our vision, our strategy? Is this something that we can apply financial and human resources to develop? Is it something we should develop? And then we analyze it and test the concept. We look at maybe a test market, look at the idea of the product. How will it be connected to our target audience? Are they interested in the product? Really explore the idea of the concept. And then we develop that concept and we test it out in a limited basis to gather more information before we go into commercialization, which is full scale production. So for a new product, the development process is idea generation, screening, concept testing, development, test marketing, and commercialization. In order to put the new product in a position to succeed, we need to look at a couple of different areas. One, we want to see, does the consumer need to try it? Do they need to test it? Do they need to hear about it? How does a consumer want to get familiar with the brand and product before they make that first purchase? Do they have to watch other people do it, or do they actually have to try it themselves? Does it appear to be difficult to use or understand? The perceived complexity is very important. Your generation is much more technologically advanced than older generations. So if we're looking for a younger generation, this may not be a difficult idea when we think about technology. If we're presenting our technology ideas to someone from a previous generation, maybe they're the senior vice presidents or maybe they're a buyer for a retail outlet, we need to realize that this may be too complex, so we'll need to make sure we explain it in an interesting and very easy manner so that they're able to understand it and purchase it. Does this product have a relative advantage to others? What is the reason why we're buying this product as opposed to a different one? Why did CrossFit break through that whole different way of getting in shape? Um, Looking at a gym or a fitness center, seeing all these different uh, mechanical apparatus that help you get into shape, all these stairmasters and treadmills. Well, what makes one better than the other ones? How can we develop this? What advantage do people see for one as opposed to the others? When we have sport marketing and we add technology to it, we can create something that is brand new and generates new benefits for our consumers. In our traditional marketing class, we look at the product life cycle. And as we look at this through a sport marketing perspective, we have to realize that sport marketing may be a little bit different than other industries because we have brand new facilities. And if you're looking at marketing of sport, we have brand new teams and players that generate every year something different. We can, in effect, see it being introduced a little bit each year as well. But we look at introduction, growth, maturity, decline, 4 stages of the product life cycle. Each stage brings a different marketing focus to it. In the introduction stage, we want to generate awareness and stimulate trial. Here we look at in the introductory stage, we don't have a lot of people in our market even knowing about our product or about our service or about our sport. Maybe we look at an introductory stage and we think maybe parkour might be in this area. If we want to generate awareness, we need to focus our marketing on getting people to know and to understand and to recognize our product. In the growth stage, we have a lot of consumers coming in. We also have a lot of new competitors entering the marketplace. So what we want to do here is build consumer preference. We want to begin people thinking why ours as opposed to other options. Certainly when we look at all the um, different types of soccer leagues around the world that kind of is in the growth stage, maybe both the United States as well as other new geographic markets around the world, we see a lot of them coming in generating this growth idea that trying to build consumer preference, trying to show the relative advantage of my league over some other league. A lot of the United States, as well as some European sport, certainly the big professional sport, may be argued that we're in a mature area, that industry sales stabilize, fewer numbers of new consumers enter the market. It becomes saturated. We have a situation where we have a couple of really big competitors. Maybe the running shoe market we can look at in terms of being mature, that we have some dominant players and we're not increasing the target audience as much. We're not bringing in new consumers. So our marketing objective here is sales, meaning we need to increase sales by taking a consumer from some other brand. It's cutthroat here. In order to extend the product life cycle for in this mature market, we can do some other things like develop new uses for the products. Traditional example of this is baking soda. Baking soda, perhaps obviously, was first developed for baking. But now we look at all the different uses for baking soda. It's in kitty litter, it's in toothpaste, it's in laundry detergent. We put it in our refrigerator to help it smell better, in our freezer to get rid of freezer burn. So we're looking at something with a lot new uses for it. We develop new product features and refinements. We build new line extensions. We utilize the brand in certain ways, like Lego. Lego used to be just the square blocks, and now we have specific boxes of, build this and it's something from Star Wars. We have Lego television shows. We have the Lego movie. We have Lego video games. So we're building new markets based on the original idea of this toy. We can change the marketing mix. We can look at more promotions to try to get these new consumers from somebody else. We can find new points of distribution. We can look at different brand new markets overseas or new target audiences that we may not have had connected to in the past. We can look at the decline stage. And in the decline stage, we look at basically our sales are diminishing. The entire industry is going down. So we can look at three different actions that we can do. Maybe we're looking at the sport magazine area. Magazines are certainly not nearly as common as they used to be, and the sales numbers are going down tremendously. We can leave the marketplace completely. We can completely either shut down the brand or try to sell it and reapply our financial and human resources more efficiently in a different piece of our business. We can stay in that area that's in decline, but do very little marketing. This is known as milking. We're trying to get as much out of it as we can without really investing our time or money into it. Or we can look to maintain or actually increase our investment. Even though the overall numbers are going down, maybe we can increase our market share by doing some investment and trying to pick up some of these open consumers that we have from other companies that are leaving. We look at other lifestyle considerations, maybe a fad where we have a high accelerated sales for a short period of time that is accepted by or followed by extreme declines. Maybe it's connected to some sort of fashion aspect where it's popular for a little bit and then very harsh backlash. A classic is a continuous stage of maturity, whereas a seasonal mature organization will see sales rise and fall yearly with consistent. Certainly skiing is a seasonal event. Swimwear and outdoor sport is a seasonal sport that's kind of mature in the life cycle. Hunting and fishing, where you have certain days that it begins and ends, certainly is a seasonal aspect to it. So when we look at this idea of diffusion of innovation, which means at which rate are new products spread through the marketplace, how we create this and how we think through it as marketers really helps us put these products in the best position possible for success. The new product characteristics that we went over a second ago, triability, observability, perceived complexity, advantage, compatibility, that idea of how a consumer needs to view the product before they understand what's going on. The perceived newness of innovation. Is it continuous or discontinuous? Is this a new way of us consuming the product, or do we have to be educated on how to consume it moving forward? And then how's the communication network? Mass communication or word of mouth. How fast is this being accepted into different areas will help this idea of diffusion of innovation, how quickly it will spread. In the nature of the communication network, certainly recommend The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell that talks about consumers and opinion leaders. He discusses in his book three main types of influential people. One is a connector, a maven, and then a salesperson. A connector is a person that has many different cliques, many different groups of friends. If you're living at college in a place that's different from your hometown, you've become a connector. You've become a person that has a group back home as well as on campus. For information to spread, this diffusion of innovation, you need these connectors to be able to take an idea from one spot and jump it to another target audience. We have mavens. These are people that we defer to often about their opinions. Maybe we have a friend that runs a lot of marathons. So when he says this running shoe is really good and it's worth the money, we defer to that person. They have some influence over us. And third person salesperson, this idea that some of us really go out of our way and push our ideas and our opinions. Maybe we just saw a movie and want more people to see it, so we start talking about how great that movie is. Or our running shoes, we talk about how great they are, so we're selling our ideas to other people. So we tap into these three different groups, these different influential opinion leaders to help this idea of our product innovations and the ideas to grow through different markets and move forward. We also want to be aware of the type of adopter that we're marketing towards, whether they're an innovator. These people are the first to adopt, but they have the highest risk, both financially of buying something early, maybe it's a new computer, but certainly a social risk. If they purchase the wrong computer, maybe there's two or three different computers on the same market, they do about the same thing. Certainly can look at this in the video game industry, and we can look at which sport do we want to align with and which console, what platform are we really connecting to. If an innovator picks the wrong one, they're out a lot of money because it's early in the time, but also socially they may be shunned because they have the wrong platform, but certainly economic wise, there's nothing to be developed after that. The games won't be fully developed based on the platform that they have. Early adopters are following in the innovators. They have high degree of opinions as well. But we're moving in that introductory stage. Certainly as we look at the early majority, this is becoming that growth stage, maybe into early maturity. Your late majority or laggage, those are well into the mature markets. They tend to be a little bit slower, a little bit to purchase. They don't want to risk something. They want to make sure that the industry shakes out a little bit, make sure they're buying the one that is socially acceptable.